Even though it's never fine.
That's always the hope. That's always the hope. Once the new link comes, I have it on my Instagram, and so I'll just change it.
Oh, you're so clever. Let's see if it's gonna work now.
Oh, we're live.
Yay! Hi, Carmel. How's it going? Let's try this again.
So it's so weird seeing yourself as you're talking.
Isn't it? Especially
yes,
delayed.
it is going well. If you could just give me a second to update the link that I shared.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Sounds like a plan. We'll see if your massive followers and fans will flock to see you. Because you're famous.
I don't know about that.
To be working, it's a little bit laggy on it, so I'm gonna leave it so I'm not taking up bandwidth for you.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Okay, so can you hear me?
Me or
yes.
them? Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, people watching, yeah, ich bin here. Can you hear us? Please let us know. Have you? I don't know if you're aware, but Ja, ich bin here is the kind of guy that you want to have subscribed to you because he is such a cool person who leaves the best comments ever. So Monique said we are back, but you are echoey.
I am.
You don't sound echoey to me. That's so weird. Well, let's just talk and pretend like everything's fine. How about that?
Okay. Sounds good. Give me like 2 more seconds and then I will be fully paying attention.
Sounds like a plan. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, great.
All right.
I'm here.
So Monique said, when you talk, is it possible that your speaker's a little too close to the microphone?
I can check. It's just going through my earphones, so it shouldn't be picking up anything at all. Is it still echoing a lot?
It's not echoing to me, only to what I know for sure from her.
Okay.
So let's try to get into this conversation, and we will come back to any questions or comments people have later. But I want to have this more of like our conversation feel, so when people watch it later, hopefully they won't feel like it's too boring. And I'll pin a comment saying when the conversation actually starts. So, what was some of the stuff that we talked about? I don't even remember now. My brain's gone blank. No, I'm just kidding. It's not blank. I have ideas. Oh yes, this is my idea to talk about to start the flow of thoughts. Can you hear me? Now you're silent. I can't hear anything from you. Why? Okay, I hear you. You're back.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's the best it's going to be.
Yeah.
I really hope it's not echoing too bad for everybody who is watching. Let me know and I can try and fix it in a little bit if it continues.
Yes. All right. So This is a fun experiment, isn't it?
um,
So, how different? You grew up in a different part of the world. What was the other part of the world that you grew up in?
so I was born in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
That's where my parents are from. So it's a small country just north of South Africa in
Mm-hmm.
Southern Africa. And then when I was a year and a half, we moved to Knoxville, Tennessee in the US. And we lived there for 4 years. And then after that, moved back to Zimbabwe for a few months. After that, we moved to Nairobi, Kenya. So at that point, I'm like 5 and a half. And we've been here ever since. We've visited the States for months at a time and visited Zimbabwe, but for the most part, lived here in Kenya.
That is. It's so funny when we were talking the other day that I was so sure that you were American because your accent is like so perfect, and that does not happen all that often.
No, that's just having lived there and the school that I went to.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody in my family sounds a little bit different because we grew up in slightly different places. But yeah.
I was wondering, like, how to phrase this question. It would be really interesting to hear how people like make us what assumptions people might make about Kenya or Sweden. Like, do you have any assumptions about Sweden based on anything that you've seen in like movies or TV shows or about how Swedish people are?
Mm-hmm. I just assume that Sweden is very cold because of how far north it is. And I had a friend from Sweden in school, and she talked about how her and then another friend who's from Finland talked about how distant people are. Not necessarily rude, just not like physically close to one another. Like if you're standing near a stranger, you stand pretty far away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Am I remembering that correctly?
That is definitely true. Boy howdy. And like you could wear a chicken suit with a rainbow wig that is shooting sparks into the sky, and you could be on fire, and a Swede would not make eye contact with you, would not notice you, or they might notice you, but they would never show it. They will just walk their way and mind their own business.
Yeah, that's so different from here. Everybody's pretty. They show that they know that you're there. They make it very clear to you that like if you do anything, they see you. That's funny.
Is like, are people kind of in each other's business in general over there?
It just depends, I think, on the type of community that you grow up in, and if it's like the size of it. I grew up in Nairobi, which is the capital city, and there are millions of people here, and so you don't, on that scale, you don't know everything about everybody. But I grew up in really small communities. Like the school I went to was really small, and so you knew everybody and everybody's family and so-and-so's cousins with so-and-so. And so it depends. The communities I was in, everybody knew about everybody because they were quite small.
That sounds stressful.
A little bit, yeah.
No hiding or getting away with anything, huh?
No. What about you? Well, first, where have you lived? And then what was it like growing up in terms of...
I grew up in Ogden, Utah, which is like 80,000 people. So there was some crossover of knowing kids my whole life, from the same elementary school to the same middle school to the same high school, but not a whole lot because of like the high school I went to was 1,500 kids. So there really wasn't that much bumping into people. Utah's weird though because it's a strange combination of mountain people, like your hunters and your cowboy, your country music fans, and your city artistic, more well-off people, and then like a small section, like 50% Mexican Catholic, and then like 1% Black, Asian, everything else.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like in my block, there was a lot of Mexican people and having parties, and poorer white people, and the richer people lived on the other side of this high school. So like the high school I went to, that was kind of like the marker. Like if you lived on this side of the street, you're not as well off, and you live on this side of the street and you're more well off, and the houses are nicer, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. Here there's definitely like different neighborhoods that are generally more well off, and there can be a really big divide between neighborhoods that are super well off and the ones that aren't well off at all, in terms of finances. But yeah, was your family more of the artistic city type or more of the hunting mountain type?
Like my uncle hunts, and he would sometimes give us some deer meat to munch on and stuff. But my dad is a cook, and my mom was always in some kind of restaurant business as a waitress, or like she worked in a bunch of different places. She was even a substitute cafeteria lady when I was in school, which I thought was amazing. So they were there. My parents have what they would call in COVID times essential workers, and yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. My brain went completely blank.
Oh, good.
Oh, I know something. It wasn't what I wanted to say, but it is something. Did you have to deal with like any kind of animals?
No.
Like random animals growing up?
No, I mean birds. But no, here, so I think this is one big difference that I've noticed between like the US and Kenya is in the US, there's a lot of hunting, and that's like it's a custom, or like it's a social thing that you do. Whereas here, most hunting would be considered poaching, which is very illegal. And so there are still some places outside of the city where communities hunt, but it's like they hunt for a living. So they'll hunt for food or to make weapons or like clothing, whatever. But most people don't fall into that category. And so there's no hunting. And any sort of like, I don't know, animal that you think of when you think of like Africa, they're in enclosures. They don't just roam around. I mean, if you go out a little bit, you might see a baboon. They're very terrifying. But for the most part, it's just like birds. Just beware of the birds. Don't give monkeys food. But it's not...
Well, you forget that monkeys...
It's not like the Lion King here.
You forget that monkeys are exotic for Americans. Like, what? You have monkeys?
So there are birds and there are monkeys that you will see on a regular basis. But for the most part, any sort of wild animal is in an enclosure. Not a zoo, but an enclosure.
I remember the monkeys in South Africa. Oh, just tramping around on the ceilings of on the roofs of like parking garages and just making so much noise and being so irritating.
I'm sure people probably drop food regularly around there, and so they just learned if we go to the parking garage.
Oh gosh!
How long did you live in South Africa for? So you lived until 18?
I lived in the U.S. the first 19 years of my life, And then I went to Europe on my 21st birthday, and I traveled around Europe for 6-ish years. Oh man,
Where all did you
my life is
go?
too confusing. I wrote it down, but I'm not going to pull that out now. I can't keep track of everything, but I spent about a year and a half, 2-ish years in South Africa.
Okay. What countries did you visit in
South Africa,
Europe?
brain. The two little countries in South Africa that are enclosed within South Africa.
Lesotho and Eswatini.
Swaziland and wait, what did you say the other one?
Lesotho.
Yes. Yes. Those were amazing experiences, man. Like,
what all were you doing there?
We were doing theater. We were doing plays for churches, for daycares, for those were the main, and schools, yeah. Those were the main places. It was so weird to see how teachers would treat little kids there and sometimes.
I think that's another one of those big cultural differences in how Americans relate to authority versus, I'm going to generalize here, but like Africans, every country is very different, over 50 countries. And of course, every school is a little bit different, but on the whole, in general, there's a very different dynamic between authority figures and, I guess, subordinates or like students or elders and kids. And some of it is like, I didn't do well. I went to a Zimbabwean school for a few months and I just personally didn't handle it well. But for example, for my brother, the structure helped him and it was good for him. And so it really just depends on, I think, the student and like how they perceive it. Like it's different when, like, for me, if I'm walking into a school, Zimbabwean system, when I was like 5 years old, coming from the US, I had a very different understanding of how I was supposed to behave. And so it was really shocking for me, whereas my brother had more experience in such a setting. And so it was easier for him to process. And he was like, oh, I understand why they're doing this. I understand that.
So was it like a stricter sense of like discipline and stuff that was hard for you to deal with? What was difficult for you?
Yeah. So for one, I was put a grade above. And so all the kids were older than me. So they knew a lot more than me. And so I had a lot of catching up to do. Ooh. One thing I remember is like having to learn Roman numerals, and I had not learned Roman numerals in kindergarten, so I was very behind on that. And just stuff like we had to wear uniforms and your socks had to like stay up all day. You know, so I'm like a 5-year-old learning that, oh, this is how you keep your socks up. This is how you wear a dress. This is how you cross your legs. Whereas in the US, it was just kind of like, if you try, you're fine. Like, just do your best. And very much like messy. Like, I could be messy and it was fine. This was very much like, no, you need to be clean. Make sure that when you blow your nose, you make sure it's very clean. Always have your school uniform ironed and like looking good. Make sure you have your hat on.
Wow.
And all that. It was, yeah, it's a lot more structured and a lot more, it feels like you're an adult, or even when you're a kid.
Huh. Wow.
Kind of. Or you're not completely, but you know, to some degree you're expected to act.
I'm wondering if the culture that you grew up in was at all similar to South Africa, where it's like because something that was so weird to me in South Africa was you walk down this, you don't walk anywhere, everybody drives or whatever, but well, white people don't walk anywhere. And if you're a white, I went for walks and taxis like drove by like, what are you doing? Do you need a ride? This is so weird. Where it's like really nice places and then around the corner, really poor places. Was it like that growing up for you?
Yeah, here in Kenya, that's pretty common. Partially, well, I don't know the history of what caused such divides to happen, so I can't speak to that. But it's partially because a lot of the people in the less well-off communities will work for people who are in the nicer communities, and so it's easier to like commute and go to work if you're nearby. So I think that's one reason why such divides are quite common. And the fact that a lot of these poorer communities are on government land. And so at any point the government can be like, oh, we're going to sell to this really wealthy real estate investor, and they'll just build an estate right there. And so then that causes that divide as well.
Do you remember?
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Do you remember like noticing these things as a little kid, like moving from the U.S. to back to Africa and noticing differences between stuff?
I don't remember a whole lot from the move. Other than it was difficult just to adjust to a new culture. Not a new culture, but like a different culture. So I think as I got older, I became more aware. For me, it was I would see differences, for example, between being at home and being at school. My school was an international school, but it was American run. And they have a certain way of doing things. So I'd go home and there was a certain way we would do things. Or I'd go to a friend's house and they're from a different country and they have a certain way that they do things. And so as I interacted with more cultures more regularly, then I became more aware of like, oh, okay, so this, not everybody does everything like this. Not everybody does everything like that.
Yeah. The other day, I just had this feeling of, oh, I'm so glad I'm in Sweden, because I came home and just closed the door behind me. I didn't bother locking it because I was going to be home anyway. And I just remembered the suffocation of South Africa, of having 15 locks and 3 clickers and 5 gated things shutting behind all the time. And I remember one time people left the house and locked the door behind them and didn't leave a key with us. So I was literally locked in the house. And I just felt like the walls are closing in. I actually climbed out of a window so that I could not be trapped in the house.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I think that's like I've grown up with you lock the door. And so it's not an issue. Like anytime I'm watching movies and people don't lock the door behind them, I'm like, that's so weird. Why just lock the door? It takes 2 seconds. So I think that's one of those things where whichever way you grew up with just becomes normal, and it doesn't feel like I don't know. You lock the door. It's just part of the routine, and just like I guess it'll be a little bit different in Gotland, but
Gotland feels like we're in a different world. Like there were so many times when we lived in the farm and we didn't bother locking the door at any time, not even when we went to sleep. Like nothing's gonna happen.
I would wake up in the middle of the night in a panic of, did I lock the door? I just, even like when we've lived in safe places, it was still part of what you did.
Yeah. So interesting to hear about different cultures and things, isn't it?
Yeah, it reminds you of like, I mean, reminds you, but like shows you what you think is the standard or what you think is normal, and really it's just you, or it's just your family that does that, or it's just your country, nobody else does, and that's fine. It's just different.
Like I'm on a bunch of different Facebook groups, and one of them, the people are like talking about news and things going on in the world. through memes, of course, because memes is so much more fun. And one of the tag groups is called "This Just In: The U.S. Isn't the Only Country."
I like that.
So you grew up in a huge city, so there's probably like a lot of different cultures and foods and things readily available there, huh?
Yeah, there's a fair amount. Since I've mostly grown up here, I don't really have anything to compare it to. So I don't know, like in Gotland, do you have other cuisines there other than Swedish food?
Swedish food is quite boring. But like, and on the mainland, there's like lots and lots of options. But in Sweden and on Gotland, there's really not a lot. But like during the summer, just in the summertime, really close to where Morton's parents live, they've got an actual guy from Japan making sushi. Like, we went there once. It was amazing. So there's some things are just seasonal, and some like there's so many people that come during the summer. It's a huge tourist spot.
Mm-hmm. So is here. During I mean, at any point in time, you can find quite a variety of food. Nairobi is a major world city, a major city in Africa. And then it's on the coast. And so the main coastal port, Mombasa, is a huge port in Africa, a huge port in East Africa. And so there are a lot of expats here, a lot of diplomats live here. There's a lot of different people, whether they're wealthy business people or they have immigrated here or anything in between. They're just visiting we don't really have seasons, but during certain times of the year, there'll be lots of tourists here from all over the world.
Are there homeless people in Nairobi?
Yes. It's a little different than the US. So anybody who's watching from the US, what you're imagining is not quite it. But yes, there are people who don't have homes.
That was a really, really big culture shock for me, that the sense of time in Africa is so different from Europe. So incredibly different. Like in America, you can tell people are homeless because they're sitting on the street, probably on a piece of cardboard to absorb some of the pain of the concrete. They've got all their stuff. They're pushing shopping carts. They look, their hair is matted. You know, there's very clear signals. And when we traveled in America, and people would give us lots of food. We were traveling missionaries, but we didn't need food because we were eating dinner in people's houses every night. So we would take leftover food and go take it to homeless people, because there's a lot in like Washington, places like Seattle. Like there's a lot of homeless people around there, and so we would take them extra food. But then when I came to Africa, I was like, how can you tell if people are homeless? Like, there's no sense of time. There's lots of people just hanging out, chilling on the side of the road, getting their hair cut in the right by where cars drive by. And it was just a completely different feel.
Mm-hmm. Time is definitely different here. And like a lot of people just walk around places, so you'll see a lot of people, and it depends on where you live. The neighborhood or the area I live in, there are a lot of people, and so there are always people walking outside, and maybe they're going somewhere. They're on their way to the supermarket, or they're about to take like a bus to town, or they're going somewhere. They're always doing something. Mm-hmm. So time here is, the way my parents describe it is that here relationships are more important than actual time. And so if I'm walking and I meet a person I know on the road, I need to greet them. And maybe we stand there for 15, 20 minutes talking about their life. And so I'll end up being late to take the bus. And then, which means maybe I run into traffic. And so then I'm late to blah, blah, blah. And so I'm extra late to blah, blah, blah. And I just have to text whoever I'm meeting up with, like, oh, sorry, something came up. Or if somebody comes by the house, you can't just be like, oh, I'm on my way out. Sorry, bye. It's like, oh, welcome. Come sit down. And then you never know how long they're going to stay for. And so it's just, that was hard for me growing up because I like schedules and I just want everything to go exactly to plan. But
you're not very African, are you?
Slowly. I'm slowly learning to embrace the fact that, you know, being on time isn't the most important thing.
Oh, man.
And, you know, sometimes it's more important to take that extra time to like talk to someone, and you'll figure out the rest of the day later.
You would do well in Germany.
The thing is, I feel like I've embraced this more than I think. Like if I ever was in a country that really is very strict about time, I would probably be late to everything. It's just that here I tend to be less late than everybody else, and so I feel like I'm on time when really I'm just less late. So I don't think I would do that great.
Oh man, I traveled with some beautiful people in Germany, but it was always so humorous to me when it was like we're meeting at 7 and like 6:59, like being there, you're late. You know.
Wow. I had a band teacher who was very much about time. This is when we're in like middle school. And he would always, anytime we'd walk in a little bit late, and we weren't late, but say we were 30 seconds late, he would say, to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is unacceptable. And so he was super strict. Like you had to be there before the bell rang. Whereas for us, it's like, especially as a kid, that didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, but the bell says that class starts at this time. So why would, and we had band just after break. And so we would have to cut our breaks like 5 minutes short because we had to be there 5 minutes early. And I was like, I don't get this. As a kid, I was like, I want my full 10-minute break before I come into your class, but it's okay.
But it sounds like something that he said really ingrained itself in you, didn't it?
Yeah. You know, after 4 years of having that teacher, it stuck eventually.
So here's a question. How do you feel your country has handled, how do you feel Kenya has handled Corona times?
I don't know. This is going to sound bad, but I don't think about it a lot these days. All our precautions have just become a part of life. So it's not something that I'm like, when I put a mask on, I'm not necessarily thinking about coronavirus. It's just kind of like, oh, you put a mask on.
Right.
I think from what I've observed, everybody's doing the best, like on an individual level, people are doing the best that they can. There are some people who can't afford to stay home or afford to not work. And that's tough for them.
Yeah.
So they have to work. Here, most everything is open at this point. But masks are required everywhere. You get your temperature checked every building you walk into, sometimes multiple times. For example, if you walk into a mall, you have to get your temperature checked and you have to sanitize. But then if you're walking into a supermarket in a mall, that's even if it's just a few meters away, you have to get your temperature checked again and you have to sanitize again. So it's, I don't know. I think it's going better than everybody expected for COVID to go here. And it's the best that any individual person can do.
I've always felt so weird being in a country that was so different from everyone else that I've only worn a mask once. I've never been an anti-masker. I just kind of have felt like Sweden didn't have the regulation put on, and I didn't see anyone anyway. I stayed home for such a long time. I went so long without going to a store. Morton did all the shopping. Like, we did a lot of staying home and being careful that way and not going out if we felt sick. So that was the Swedish mentality, was if you feel sick, stay home. If you have the slightest signs of sickness, stay home. But
we should explain how we met.
Oh yeah.
Now that we're on the subject.
We met because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, we are in a Facebook group, and this guy on the Facebook group was like, hey, does anybody want to collab with me to make a mini documentary about our lives during coronavirus? And this was back in like April. So we didn't even know what 2020 was going to be like, but we thought we, and so we started the series and did it for quite some time. We did, I think, 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to hear
so much work into those.
Yeah, we had weekly meetings. We would debrief over how the last week went.
Yeah.
Lots of editing, lots of thumbnails,
lots of notes,
lots of logo reiterations. Those were wild at the beginning.
It was really impressive to see so many different skill levels and personalities come together too.
It was a lot of fun. I remember like the first day feeling really nervous to meet everybody, and there were 2 Nicks and 2 Katies, and I was thinking, I'm never going to learn all these people's names. And then like a month later, it was just so routine to talk to everybody every day about most everything, and it just became a part of life.
Yeah, so neat. But I really appreciate that you have taken the time to. You're doing so many things. Your own YouTube channel, which everyone should totally check out. I put the link in the description, but I might have to do that again after we're done because of problems with getting this stream going. But I will do that. Oh, you can also drop your link in the comments too.
Oh yeah, I can do that right now.
Yeah. So you should
also see who's.
Sorry? Doop-doo. I can't hear you. Don't know why this is happening. Oh, bother. I do hope I'll be able to hear you again soon. If anybody's curious, I've been playing with these little toys the whole time because I really love to play with stuff and keep my hands going. I think it might be called stimming. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody stims. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. Well, so while she's frozen, I will... Oh no, she's gone. Can you hear me still? Let me know if you can hear me.
That was my bad.
Oh, you're back.
I am back.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. I think I need to read. Oh, ta-da!
Yay! Okay, great. Monique can hear.
Yay! I'm so glad you're back. What were we saying?
I was putting my link in the chat, and then I got distracted by the fact that I was kicked off on my computer.
Oh, dang.
Uh, so there it is. Should we go over the few questions or the one question that's in there?
Sure, I don't remember what it is. Hit me.
Okay, there are two. Sounds similar. Monique says, sounds similar to what you described our neighborhood as. A kid, Katie, maybe just more extreme. I don't remember what we were saying about neighborhoods.
I think talking about like the disparity, is that the right word? Of wealth
disparity
and poverty.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then people just get their hair cut on the side of the road in South Africa.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not. It's different. It's not like, I feel like I'm just going to talk about the US because that's what I've experienced. I've never been to Sweden or Gotland. So in the US, there's a big split between where the roads are and where houses are, like where the roads are and where businesses are. Whereas here in Kenya, and from what you've said in South Africa, I'm assuming it's the same. There isn't that big of a split. It's like the road and then there's a business right next to it. Mm-hmm. And then because most places don't have like air conditioning or any of that, because weather doesn't get that extreme, at least in Kenya. A lot of people will, instead of having your hair done in the salon, maybe you'll sit outside to get more airflow, and then you can talk to more people and be social because community is a huge part of everything. So it's not like somebody's on the side of the highway, like, and there's just nothing around them. It's that there are businesses, there are houses, there are people who are there.
Yeah, you described it a lot better than me. Thank you.
And then Monique asked what my channel is about.
Yes.
That's a really good question. It's basically about just my life and how I'm growing and learning how to be, like, how to create the life that I want to live. And so I'll do different challenges, whether it's like exercise challenges or reading, and all of it is kind of based around self-improvement and like helping myself be better at being myself.
I really enjoyed your video of doing your workday while fitting in running all these steps or walking all these steps up and down in your apartment.
That was a tough. I didn't think it would be that hard. So the video was climbing a mountain's worth of stairs in one day. So I picked like the smallest mountain that's in Kenya, and I did all the calculations. And climbing stairs is tough. But I think I'll do it again. I would do it again.
And your latest video, I love that it was so short too, about imposter syndrome. That was so well edited. I love it when people show the parts that get cut out, show the mistakes and the vulnerability and the and they're just when people are fearless enough to be real, that just makes me so happy and so proud.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I wasn't sure if it would turn out the way I was hoping it would, but I'm really glad that I made it. I'm glad that I have all that footage. I've considered deleting stuff just because it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
But being able to look back at different moments, I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember sitting there and being like, I shouldn't do this. And the clip that I have in there of when I'm trying to record a YouTube video, that was for the Apartment United series.
Oh.
And that was me almost every week. I'm like, should I be doing this? Should I change my shirt? Should I do this? Should I do that? But having you guys there as accountability helps a lot with just going for it.
Yeah, totally. It's like there's not any shortcut to getting comfortable in front of a camera. There's no tip or trick that's going to just get you there. It's just brute force pushing through it.
Yeah. I would say if you're out there and you feel uncomfortable with the camera, welcome to the club. And eventually it will, you'll get a little bit less uncomfortable.
That's just something that I'm so passionate about, is finding people that have a story to tell and helping enable them to be able to do it. Like to either figure out what it is they want to talk about, or the mechanics of where to go to hit upload, like whatever. It's so exciting to connect with people about that. That's like I have all these like conversations lined up coming up that I'm just really, really excited about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think conversations and storytelling I love them.
Yeah. So you have a bunch of courses on Skillshare.
I do.
About setting up a blog?
So the first course that I did was about how to use Weebly, which is a website building platform.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, the courses are all about helping people tell their stories online. So whether that is building their own website or using Canva, which is a design tool, or about how to use Instagram and not burn out. And then the other one I have the fourth one I have is about budgeting. Just because I love budgeting and I thought that it would be fun to teach other people how I budget. But mostly it's about helping people tell their stories. So I have a company that I'm working to build, and the tagline is that I'm here to help you tell your story better. So I offer like graphic design and copywriting and all of that. And it's all just basically like what you said, helping people tell their stories. And so if I can do that by teaching people how to do all these things themselves, then that's the dream.
Dude, knowing that about you, like I could very well be sending clients your way, because there's like, I'm the emotional end of the spectrum, like I want to help people craft their channel trailer that they're like, this is who I am, pick up their vibe and their purpose from that. But there's so much technical stuff I don't know. So if I come across people who are like, I want to do that through Instagram or whatever, I'll be like, well, I know your lady.
Yeah, I love the technical side. I think the emotional side is so important. And like when I'm talking to a client, a lot of the beginning of our meeting will just be, okay, why do you want to do this? Who are you trying to reach? Mm-hmm. And that's not super technical, but once you get that down, it's so much easier to do the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And
because if you don't know who your target audience is, then you're just kind of putting something out there without any tether, just kind of floating around.
Right.
So for your YouTube channel, who's your target audience?
Basically myself growing up. I just loved learning how to grow. And so that's basically who my channel is for, is people who want to grow, but also people who are learning that they don't have to grow. Like, even if they don't get better at something, it's okay. And so as much as I push myself really hard, I also have to remind myself that it's okay to be where I'm at. And so that I make videos for young people especially, but for people who are overachievers who need to learn that it's okay not to be an overachiever. Like, you can just exist.
That's really, really cool. Well, I remember you saying that you are like doing a million things with like being in school and having a business and having a YouTube channel, and so you didn't have unlimited energies to talk. So we can say hej då, that's goodbye in Swedish, and hopefully talk again some other time, either here or in real life.
Yeah, in real life, that would be so cool.
Wouldn't it? Well, when I
Yeah.
say real life, I don't necessarily. I meant like YouTube is one world, and like Zoom without an audience is another world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if there are no other questions, we can wrap it up. But if anybody has anything else to say, now is the time.
I hope I didn't actually give a warning to people watching that I was going to mostly be ignoring you. Sorry about that, because I didn't want this to be. I think no, I did say something that I didn't want this to be a oh hey, and it to be irritating to watch later. Let's see.
I guess we should wait for the lag because maybe.
Oh yeah, we can do that. Because I wasn't even worried if anybody was gonna, too many people were gonna show up, because I just wanted to be able to focus on you.
Yeah. Did you see the last comment? Katie will show up at your house to take advantage of
it. That is very, very true.
Well, you are welcome. Oh, Marcus. So Marcus is a friend of mine. Why? So that's such a hard question. Would you like to be more specific? He says, what is your aspiration in life?
I mean, I think we've been pretty specific. Like, you were just talking about that you want to help people tell their stories. You want to make people that are perfectionists see that they don't have to be. And that seems like a pretty purpose-filled statement right there.
Okay, yes. So that, and then I have another answer now that I've had a second to think. I really want to help teenagers and young adults start their own businesses. Like I said, as a kid, I was obsessed with learning. And one of the things I loved to learn about was businesses. And I didn't know how to do that. And the internet wasn't really a thing when I was a kid. And so I've learned so much in the past couple of years on how to start a business, whether that's with social media or, like budgeting, or how to talk to potential clients or partners, or how to be on the internet and make friends in a safe and healthy way. And so I would love to help other young people be able to do that a little bit more easily, especially here in Kenya or in Zimbabwe. I would love to just help everybody be able to tell their stories better, but especially young people.
Yeah. I'm imagining that there's a lot of different rules between business in Africa, like learning about Swedish tax laws, working towards having my business started. It's nuts. So I'm imagining that maybe your audience would be more specifically people who are in that specific country where there's with those specific laws and rules and things, huh?
Yeah, I would love to have a tutoring center, but have it be academic tutoring, but also business consulting for kids. So that, because there's still stuff that I'm trying to figure out about how taxes here work and how living in a country that you don't have citizenship for, that's a whole thing. And so I'd love to help just demystify that.
Totally.
So yeah, there are different laws. I'm still learning them. So yes.
But I think you're a lot like me, that as soon as we learn something, we're really excited to share it with someone else.
Oh yeah.
We have this big thing about us, our personalities in common.
Here.
I am curious how different it would be to start a business in Kenya versus
things that
Sweden.
they don't care about. I'm like, oh, I just learned this today. I just need to tell somebody.
Sorry?
Oh no, my internet's being lagging.
Come on, internet.
My internet is lagging.
How rude. Yeah.
Okay, what were you saying?
Do you think I am curious? I am curious how different it would be to start a business in Kenya versus Sweden versus the US. I know nothing at all about starting a business in America, so I cannot help there. But I am starting my business in Sweden, and it's like I had to register, and you have a person number, like your probably like social security number. And I have to now my business is going to be registered under that. And if people are in Sweden, I have to charge a special kind of tax. And if they're not, then I don't. And blah, 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 blah. That's the short answer. You're welcome.
Yeah. I think there's a technical differences like in taxes and registration and bank accounts and all of that. And then there's also just the social difference in how you do business. And whether your clients, like you said, are in Kenya or if they're abroad, and you have to worry about time zones or there's a lot.
It's so exciting for me to see how similar our senses of purpose and businesses are. Like we should just have a business together. What do you think? Let's be partners.
Figure out how to do a business in multiple ways, in addition to the ones that we're trying to figure out.
No, like we combine our businesses together. Like I do a lot of the emotional, and you do the technical.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that could work.
There are no flaws to this plan. Haram Lee said, "Do you think you would stay in Kenya or venture out in the future?"
Yeah. Haram's another one of my friends. Hi.
Cool.
I don't know. The world is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. With the internet, it doesn't matter where you live.
Right. So I like it here. Well, I don't know. I don't really know past like 3 months from now, honestly. I live my life pretty short term.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Checking in 3 months.
I want to go back to Africa for that sense of community that was just so nice. And I would talking about just dropping anything to talk to people, that just sounds lovely. Like when I was pregnant in South Africa, people were so nice to me, and I would be like, yeah, there's 2 babies in there, and they'd be like, no, you're joking.
You could cultivate that in your community. Figure out how to do that there. It will be an uphill battle.
You've never met you say you've met a Swede, but have you met a Swede?
Okay, the internet friends that you can message the group.
Yes. That's what I try. I try to. And I have attracted the coolest people in the world. So if you consider yourself to be one of the coolest people in the world, you should also stick around and subscribe. And come and listen to wonderful conversations. Some of them are Zoomed. Some of them are edited. Some of them are Zoomed edited.
Oh, a combination.
Sorry?
All right. I said, a combination.
Yes.
Is Kamal suggesting Katie have more twins? Did I suggest that?
I think he was inferring that from you saying I should cultivate a community. That's
a good solution.
Like literally cultivate the community.
I like that solution.
Yeah, you can feed them at 3 a.m. and 5 and 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and
sounds exhausting.
So exhausting. If I had are you in a hurry to go, or can I share an interesting thing about Africa to me?
You can share.
Okay, so when I was getting ready to go to Sweden because I was too poor to give birth in South Africa, Like, if you're not a rich person there, the medical system is not amazing. So I was getting ready to leave, and this lady, words, Katie. Whew. She was like, "Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to do the cleaning and the cooking and taking care of the baby?" And I was like, "I'm going to do it myself." Like, she was so shocked that a white lady would take care of herself.
Mm.
It was so weird.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this in layers and try to explain it well. So first, it's back to the community aspect of things. A lot of people will grow up around family. If they don't grow up around family, they're around really close friends. And so everybody pitches in to help raise a child. Oh, so you're not expected to raise a child by yourself. And the idea that you would like want to do that by yourself, and it like that's just mind blowing. Yeah. So there's that part of things. And then there's a second level of here. It's common to have a house help. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's somebody who helps clean, or maybe they help take care of the baby, or maybe they help cook. And it's not anywhere near as expensive as, say, in the US. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people, middle class, you don't have to be super rich, upper class to have a house help necessarily. And it's one of those ways where like it creates jobs in a sense. So it's not just about, like it's helpful to both sides. Mm-hmm. Ideally, hopefully. So there's that aspect of things. And then thirdly, it is more, I think, common for if you're an expat, like if you're in a country that you don't live in, I think it's assumed that you have a certain level of money because travel is not cheap. Living out like away from home, mm-hmm. or away from where you grew up is not easy. Mm-hmm. So maybe she assumed that because you are not just white in South Africa, that's a whole nother story, but like because you are an American living in South Africa, then you probably have some sort of money, and so you can afford to have somebody help you. Mm-hmm. And so you choosing to do it by yourself on those 3-4 levels just didn't compute.
Yeah. Oh, I love the layers. I love the complexity that there were so many things that my mind was blown about being there. That could be a whole other conversation. I have so much to say about South Africa, but I never really wanted to just make a video about it. I think it would be really cool if I could find another South African to talk to about it. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good element. So then there's a conversation, and it's talk back and forth and share experiences rather than it be you talking at an audience.
Yeah.
Which is a difficult part of YouTube when you're not doing like a live stream or something like that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, I can just run off on tangents till the cows come home.
I'm sure we could keep talking.
Yes, but you have lots of things on your plate.
Yes. So I guess we will wrap this up.
Yeah. Bye, Monique. Thanks for being here. And yes, thanks to everyone else for being here. It seems like we've been going over an hour. It was 15 minutes more than you said you'd probably have energy for. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to talk to you and get to know you better. It's so funny that this is the first time we talked one-on-one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's always 4, 7, 8, 9 of us.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I
know somebody just...
I'm just about to head out. She came for the end. So, anyway, hugs. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I will see you on the other side of the internet.
Yes. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Now let's see if I can actually figure out how to do this. Oh, Akia, who knows? Maybe I won't even be able to turn it off because I'm so technically challenged. Let's see. I mean, I don't actually have anything else planned, so we could just chill if you want. Yes. So, this was fun. Yeah, just chat with you. Bonus stream. You've unlocked a bonus area. I sound like somebody who's like trying to quote video games or sports and has no clue, like, and then you kicked a point in the goal place. Cheering. That reminds me of this. I don't remember. My brain is tired, and I'm still just playing with these little toys. Like, I just can't stop. They're called plus pluses, and they belong to my kids. But they're just so nice. They just fit together so nice. Akya said, all settled into your new home? And yes, totally. We don't have a lot of stuff, so it doesn't take long. It's great. It's great to not have a lot of stuff. Because I actually sent you a message about this on the WhatsApp. Most people have 10 years worth of stuff they've accumulated in the time that Morten and I were traveling around in vans and cars. So... Yakbin here said, I think we should wrap this up after answering Akia's question. If you think so, I will. I can. It's easy to accumulate stuff, way too easy. But it feels so good to be able to throw stuff away or donate stuff or like get free of it. That's a wonderful feeling. Yeah. I should probably give the kids the time to get off of cartoons warning before dinner. So, anyway, thank you for being here today. This is a reference to the movie Princess Diaries. Let me know if you recognize this. Thanks, yeah, ich bin here. Thanks for being here. Hope nobody minded being ignored for the most part, since I was just focusing on the conversation aspect of it. See you next time. Now I go to this place and I end stream. Bye-bye.